Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I had to move locations just because we were getting a lot of attention, and now we're here with this vehicle right next to me. What is it? It's a 2023 Mazda 3 hatch, but guess what? This is the Mazda 3 Turbo with all-wheel drive. But before we get into this hatchback that maybe you could call it a hot hatch, maybe it's more like a mild to medium hatch, let's talk about what's going on here. Mazda. Once upon a time, really not that long ago, they were about true performance. It was all about zoom zoom and what that performance meant to the driving enthusiasts. Guess what? When they came out with this Mazda 3, this particular generation, some things changed, specifically when it came to suspension. But Mazda is still saying that even though they don't use zoom zoom anymore, that this is a performance style compact hatchback. Well, guess what? There's a lot of key players today, big players. The Civic Type R, Elantra N, Veloster N, Golf R, and then of course we can't forget the OG of all of them. What is that? That's gonna be the Volkswagen GTI. So what I wanna find out is, for the price, is this the better hatchback to buy over a Volkswagen Golf GTI, or should you just go for that OG of a hot hatch? Let's go ahead, let's dive into this 2023 Mazda 3 hatch and find out. Right off the bat, the color. This particular gray finish really has a nice, seductive, classy look on it. Now at the front of the business, compared to the new generation of the GTI, I really think that they hit the nail on the head with the style. Definitely with the headlight housing, very small, full LED headlights, daytime running lamps, and turn signals. I like the way that they went with this dark chrome finish. Normally on a non-turbo, this would be all shiny chrome, nice dark chrome finish, smooth concave appearance and feel without any fake vents. Now our particular one does have some extra kind of aero body to make it even look sportier. On the lower portion, you'll see that massive lower splitter, and it does come down quite a bit from your stock location. You'll notice the gloss black finish to it. Moving up into the grille, we have that gloss black grille, nice classy design, full functionality with the Mazda badge. And I love the way that on the lower portion, everything comes to this nice point. When you're comparing it to the GTI, definitely the GTI has that more squared off appearance, even though they got a little softer with some of the style to it, and just cleaner, I think, on the Mazda 3. Let me know in the comment section, just looking at the front, which hatchback is the better looking hatch, the front of the Mazda 3 or the GTI. Now, when we get up onto that long, low slung hood, super clean lines. And I think that's one of my favorite things about this hatchback is that it doesn't have that familiar boxy shape. Very smooth. And as we come around the bend, what are we working with? Wheel and tire setup. So you're gonna get this multi-spoke gloss black wheel. It is an 18-inch wheel, and that's what you would find on a GTI is an 18-inch wheel as well. The problem is it's a very narrow wheel. And what I mean by that is tire size, it's a 215 on a width. That's a very narrow tire with a 45 series sidewall. Another downside compared to the GTI, and this is what kind of makes this move away from being a hot hatch, is that there's no limited slip diff. None up front, none out back. We have all-wheel drive, just no limited slip diff. The GTI is front-wheel drive, but it does have a limited slip diff, which means that it gets the power to the ground very, very effectively. But if they would have added maybe a little bit wider wheel and tire and some limited slip diffs, this could have been that knockout punch that Mazda could have had in their pocket against the mighty GTI and maybe even the Golf R. But wheels, they look good, they're just a little bit on the narrow side. Now, coming down the rest of the vehicle, like I said, there's really not a flat piece anywhere on the side of the vehicle. We do have gloss black on the mirror caps with our turn signals nice and slim. Up top, you do get a standard sunroof. But the problem is besides the sunroof, this shiny, bright metalwork has got to go. They should have made this into a dark chrome finish since everything else has been blacked out, so to speak. We do have color match on the door handles, and I do love the way that they extend that side sill. This is part of that extra aero, not only the splitter, but the side sill extension, and I like the way it twists up and causes that air to go past the rear of the vehicle. Very, very clean, sporty style. Like I said, let me know compared to the GTI how you're feeling about the look. Now, as we come towards the rear, this is very interesting. It has a very large rear pillar that flows into the rear fender. And I'm gonna have Steven kind of swing around. It gives you a nice wide, almost like a Coke bottle shape to the rear of the vehicle. Looks really good. LED lighting, and they do such a good job, not only with the headlights, but also with the taillights. Love the way everything is all shaped. Of course, you're gonna have a turbo badge. Coming across the back, we do have the upgraded hatch spoiler. This spoiler has been added, extra height, extra extension. You do have your rear wiper. I'm not gonna zonk it because without this being there, there would be nowhere to put it. And the Golf GTI has the wiper here as well. That nice, clean, round shape. You do have your Mazda badge in the center here. They hide the button for the hatch underneath it. And then you'll also notice our Mazda 3 all-wheel drive badge. Like I was saying, it would have been nice if they would have blacked out all the badging. And then on the lower portion, look at this lower rear diffuser. Functional, and it looks damn good with our stainless steel exhaust on both sides, oval opening / cut on the exhaust outlets with that rear diffuser. It's hard. It's interesting because this has such a great shape to it. Let's go ahead, let's pop the hood and compare horsepower numbers between the Mazda 3 Turbo and the mighty GTI. All right, guys, we got the hood popped. You do have a prop rod. Let me know if you think you want to zonk this. On the Golf GTI, you also have a prop rod. Underneath the hood, semi-tasteful engine cover. You got the turbo badge, you got the Mazda badge, and Steven's gonna swing around towards the firewall to show off that turbocharger that's mounted right near the firewall, close to the engine compartment there. What we're looking at is a 2.5 liter turbocharged engine, 250 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to one transmission only, and that's the zonk. It's a 6-speed automatic transmission. No manual available. 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds, quarter mile in 14 seconds, flat at 101 miles per hour, and the top speed is governed to 134 miles per hour. The vehicle weighs 3,392 pounds, that's with the all-wheel drive, and gets 23 mpgs in the city, 32 on the highway. How does it compare to the GTI? The GTI has a 2-liter inline-4 turbocharged engine that puts out 241 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque. So think about that. This engine is actually more powerful, both horsepower and torque, than the mighty GTI, but because of the limited slip diff and better transmission choices, 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. Remember, you can get that DCT transmission or a 6-speed manual. Quarter mile in the GTI is a 13.8 second time at 105 miles per hour, and the top speed is governed to 155 miles per hour in the GTI. The vehicle weighs 3,154 pounds, and MPGs has 24 in the city, 32 on the highway. So from a performance standpoint, it's very, very close. It just really comes down to feel. And I think that's where the GTI really shows its hand because of that limited slip diff and that multi-link rear suspension. Remember, this vehicle has no multi-link rear suspension anymore. They went with the torsion beam, which is a cheaper, less sports car-like setup. But why don't we go ahead, let's fire up this 2.5 liter turbocharged engine and hear if it makes any sound. All right, guys, we're inside this 2023 Mazda 3 Turbo all-wheel drive. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, you know, I feel like it's a case of what might have been, what almost happened with the Mazda 3 Turbo, but I'm kind of curious, how much is it? Because I'm looking at a GTI, but I kind of do want all-wheel drive. What's the price of this one? I know exactly how you feel. MSRP, the way this one is optioned, especially with all the extra aero bits, the splitter, the side sill extensions, the diffuser, and the spoiler, you're looking at an MSRP of $38,000. It's in that price category of a GTI, but a GTI today could be spec'd well over $40,000. So let's see what you get for the money. To the door panels. Where Mazda does a great job is with their fit and finish. Soft touch material. I love the two-tone with that dark atomic fireball red. With the stitching, we got the optional Bose sound system with a good-looking aluminum speaker grille cover. There is some soft material on the armrest and some gloss black that I'm gonna have to zonk right around the switchgear for the window operation. But other than that, things looking good. Door pocket is a pretty decent size. You could get a Big Mac in there, a large fry, and a Pepsi to wash it all down. Now going from the door panel to the dash, more of that atomic fireball red with the stitching, soft touch. It's a little bland now, you know, because they came out with this redesign back in 2019. A little bland on the AC vents, and obviously that's where the GTI, being newer, looks a little bit more modern. This is the big arguing point. You get a floating iPad style infotainment system screen, and it's only an 8.8 inch screen. Normally, I don't have a problem with that size of screen. I just wish if you had all this space around it, they should have made a 10 inch screen. Now, it isn't a touch screen. You could touch it, it just doesn't do anything. But here's the problem. The GTI, remember, has all those touch buttons, which are very cumbersome to use. This, you may not be able to touch it, but you have the rotary dial controller, which I think is easy to use once you get the hang of it. When you throw it in reverse, great job on the backup camera. Better than the GTI with trajectory, and we got 360 cam. Put it back in the park. Working our way down, we have dual climate control with real knobs, switches, and buttons. This is what you don't get in the GTI. You got heated seats, no ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, your start-stop button nicely placed. This should be wireless charging, but I'm gonna zonk it. You know why? Because it's not. The good news though is you can fit about 8 Twinkies in this area. 2 cup holders, just make sure the bottles are legal size. Don't go with those illegal bottles because it's gonna bump your dash area here. This controls the 7-speed, I'm thinking about the GTI, 6-speed automatic transmission. Remember, GTI has a 7-speed DCT, they call it a DSG. This, you could take the shifter and put it and go manual with it, or you could use paddles behind the wheel. You do have some gloss black. There's that rotary control knob that, like I said, once you figure out how to use it, it's not that big of a deal. And then you have your sport mode. All you do is you go like this, sport. You want it off? Off, that's it. Nice soft material on the armrest. You could slide it back, have easy access for a bag of boiled peanuts, or you could open it up all the way. You got 2 USB-As, a 12 volt, and you got enough room in here. I would say you could put about 12 CD cases in here. And if you don't know what a CD is, that's where we used to listen to music. You'd actually have a CD player. Now everything is over the interwebs. Very interesting how time changes. Close it up, the seats. Super soft leather. Love the way they did the piping. They are manual control on the passenger, that's unacceptable. That's a zonk. But you do get your standard size sunroof, and you do also get some decent quality finish in here. But why don't you come over to the business end? I want to show you behind the wheel of this Mazda 3. Guys, business time. You do have your seat controls, easy to get to, and the best thing is you got 2 memory seat settings for the driver's seat. I'm 6 feet tall, and if you're comparing it to the room in a GTI, let's be honest, you're gonna get more room in the GTI because of its boxier shape, but at least up front, I feel really good. I don't feel cramped or claustrophobic or anything like that. I don't even feel like agoraphobic or arachnophobic. So that's good news. Steering wheel, the leather all the way around. They do a great job with the nice thin spokes, metal for the buttons and switch gear so you don't have to worry about fingerprints. You do get these postage stamp style paddles on the back of the wheel to go up and down the 6-speed automatic. It is manual tilting and telescoping. And then you do have a nice gauge layout. That's a digital display in the center, which is also your speedometer. Then everything else is going to be analog, and you have a decent size head-up display. So from a information standpoint, they do a pretty darn good job. Let's go ahead. I have a feeling the GTI is probably going to beat us in the backseat of this Mazda 3, but let's get back there and see how much space there is. Backseat time. Now, normally I like to take a lot of time to talk about all the features back here. To be honest with you, there's kind of none. It's kind of bland back here. Headroom is a little bit compromised. Something to think about. I mean, I'm not hunched over, but I am very close to that headliner. It's the rear pillars that makes it feel kind of cramped in here. Like, it looks good on the outside, but this is what you have to deal with on the inside. Here's what else you got. No pocket behind the driver. So if you have your California calzone, you're gonna have to put it in between your legs, and God forbid you squeeze too tight, you're gonna get hot mozzarella all over you, and that's gonna burn you. Back of the command center, there's nothing to command. Knock, knock, who's there? It's a bunch of plastic. No 12 volt, no USBs. There's not even freaking 2 cans and a piece of string to talk to somebody with. So very disappointed, and we're definitely gonna have to zonk that. I have my own pocket, so the good news is I could get my calzone in there and I'll protect my groin area from getting burned. But other than that, armrest, that's nice. That's a nice Charmin soft. It's almost like a piece of Hubba Bubba after somebody chews it a little bit. Never take ABC gum from anybody. Just a little tip. 2 cup holders, flip it back. There's a Hornet that's about to sting Steven in the back of his neck, so we need to get in that cargo area and see how much room we have compared to the GTI. All right, guys, hatchback time. One of the best parts about a hatchback is actually utilizing it. And you lift it up very easy, very light. This is where the GTI is gonna kick the butt of the Mazda 3. You do have some really good usable space. The problem is there's just more in the GTI. You have 13 cubic feet of space. It is a tighter opening, but I do like how low the cargo floor is. And of course, those seats will do a 60-40 Tango split. Lift this up, you do get a spare, which is another nice touch with that Bose subwoofer in the back. But we looked at versatility, we looked at the interior. There's only one last thing to examine with this Mazda 3 Turbo. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go on throttle and see if it is a hot hatch. All right, guys, we are in this Mazda 3 Turbo, leaving our filming location. And right away, like I said, I do like the layout of the interior and all the materials. Let me know in the comment section. I think I already know what you're gonna say, how you feel about that infotainment system. Like I said, using the rotary control knob does make it easier. So that's one thing for sure, is being able to rotate through the different settings very, very easily. The one thing though is if you want to touch it, you just can't. And to be honest with you, it's kind of too far away when you really think about it. But nice that they have all this high level material in here. And another thing that I really, really think is great is that they did a great job with giving you such a nice, quiet cabin. You hear the motor, but that's about it. And that's what's nice about all of the fit and finish with this vehicle. All right, guys, I do have it in sport mode. The way you can tell, it illuminates in orange the word sport. You do get more modes with the GTI for sure. Of course, you got all the safety features that you could want. And we're going to, let's shift with the paddles here. Got a nice little gear indicator at the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead, nobody's directly behind us. We're gonna come to a complete stop, and then we're gonna go on throttle. On throttle, here we go. On the brakes. Good feedback from the front of the car. once you get in the meat of that torque delivery, it feels really, really, really good. And that's where you're gonna find that with that 2.5 liter turbocharged engine, the torque actually comes in at a pretty good pace once you get about 3,000 RPM, 2,500, and then it pulls all the way through. Like I was saying, engine sound is actually pretty good. And I just like how clean the instrumentation is. It's not this big full digital display. I like the way everything looks very consistent, easy to understand. Seats are comfortable. I actually think they're more comfortable than the GTI seats. Obviously, the GTI seat's a little bit better when holding you into place because of the bolstering that they have. But let's go ahead. We're gonna go on throttle again together here. On throttle with the all-wheel drive. Gets the traction to the ground very, very nicely. Obviously, the 6-speed automatic is not as responsive as the 7-speed DCT. And we don't have that great multi-link independent rear suspension like in the GTI. So some of that driving feel goes away with this Mazda 3 Turbo. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised on how well it does drive, especially if you do live up north where you tend to get obviously more snow than other places in the country. I think this Mazda 3 Turbo is going to pleasantly surprise you. But yeah, the paddles could be a little bit more responsive. There is a bit of delay when you upshift and downshift, but like I was saying, you know, comparing this to a DCT transmission is really not fair 100%. All right, I put it back into automatic mode for the transmission, and we're gonna get out onto the highway and see how this Mazda 3 Turbo cruises down the road. This is really where, over the GTI, it has, I think, an advantage. And the reason why are the seats, and also with how good this cabin is being insulated. They did a great job compared to the Volkswagen GTI, and you have those safety features, which I love. And I love the way it shows on the dash and also in the head-up display. But getting up to speed is no problem. And I know that everybody wants some type of 8-speed or 9-speed automatic in this Mazda 3 Turbo. When you're cruising at highway speeds, it's gonna help with your fuel economy and help with the engine revs. Right now we're doing 65 miles per hour and we're turning about 2,500 RPM. So if we did have an 8-speed automatic, that would probably be more like 1,800 RPM. And that's where you're gonna save some fuel. But even with the sunroof, you're not getting a lot of wind noise in here. And it's just very, very smooth, very comfortable. And you just gotta ask yourself at the end of the day, what intentions do you have more with the car? Do you want more of a hot hatch? Or are you happy with something that gets you close, but yet it has other aspects like the all-wheel drive that bring it up a notch? Now, I know some of you might be saying, well, oh, I would just go get a Golf R. Remember, Golf R, you're looking around $50,000. So a Golf R with the all-wheel drive is gonna cost you, but we're gonna go on throttle again in automatic mode. Here we go. So compared to a lot of the other competition in this compact performance class, the 0 to 60 is not too shabby at all. But I really think, like I said, as a daily driver, this thing is really gonna shine well for you, especially if you're looking for something that has a little bit higher feel on the interior. But we're gonna get back to where it all started and wrap this one up, so I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been a fun-filled day with this Mazda 3 Turbo. Definitely gotta thank everybody at Mazda for allowing us access to this press fleet vehicle. So what do you think? When it comes down to how it drives, performance numbers, and of course price at the end of the day, are you gonna go Mazda 3 with the all-wheel drive and the turbocharger, or are you gonna go Golf GTI? Let me know in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Radies Rides family. Of course, we got to give it up to Stephen Flood. Stephen Flood Photography. He lives his life one way and one way only. That's with a 6-speed manual, and that's about it. So show him some love in that comment section. Thank you, Stephen, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.